What is up, money makers? So good news, this morning YieldMax has announced their June distributions, their June dividends for their single stock funds, and in this video we're going to go over all of them. Alright, so on our website you can see the top 3 performers are still CONY, MSTY, and NVDY. NVDY, I think it will change once we update our database later today, so by the time you watch this video this will change. Also it changes with the price, and here's the whole list of all the funds as well as the underlying, and here you can compare them between the fund and the underlying stock, but we'll go over that later. So let's begin reviewing the dividends. And guys, I have to ask you, please click the like button. It will help our new channel grow. It really helps. So I know for some of you it might be annoying to do this, but it really helps us, and also it will encourage us to make more videos. So click that like button, subscribe to the channel. It really does help. And by the way, guys, people on Reddit are reporting making some crazy dividends this month, and from YieldMax in general. Like the author of this post is getting about 500 bucks, and over here this guy is making 17 grand this month alone. This guy right here about 4 grand, $20,000, 4K, 4.2, that's Canadian, but still great. 23.5. Guys, this is completely amazing. Like, look at the, like, yeah, sure, they invest a lot of money, but they're making great dividends. So congrats to all the YieldMax holders. Anyway, let's begin. So I organized this in the order of dividend amount. So first comes MSTY, and they will be paying $3.03. So that's a 20% increase from the previous month, and a forward yield of almost 105%, which is quite amazing. I think this fund is doing great. Now I have a few shares of MSTY, not a lot, and my cost is around $31, and so yeah, I'll be getting like a few of those dividends. So next comes NVDY. All right, they increased their dividend from last month by 114%, and it will be $2.56, which is also amazing. Now the share price of NVIDIA is also doing great, and that's because the underlying NVIDIA is basically breaking all the records. Soon enough it will become the most valuable company in the world. Right now I think it's going to overtake Apple to become number 2. All right, so if you have NVIDIA stock, then you are doing really great this month, so congratulations. All right, next one is CONY. Now I do have some CONY shares, and I also have some Coinbase, the underlying stock, and their distribution this month actually went down by 25%, 25.5%, to $1.69, almost $1.70, and that's still a very respectable yield of 85%, which is amazing. Now I wish it was higher, but they had a pretty rough month in May, especially with the synthetic position, because at some point Coinbase stock dropped below $200, and they had, I believe, like a 230 synthetic position, so they had to pay out a lot of money to close that. So anyway, yeah, $1.69 is pretty good for CONY. Now next one is YBIT, and this one follows BITO. Right, so BITO is an income ETF. It basically sells or trades Bitcoin futures, and it just announced their own dividend. So their dividend was $1.77, which is amazing. It's a forward yield of 80%. Now BITO yesterday was trading at 21 something, and today dropped to 20.64, and then once all these distributions get paid out, all these prices, they will go down by about the amount of the dividend. Okay, so today is the X date, or rather tomorrow is the X dividend date. So if you want to get these distributions, you will want to own these funds today. Now as far as BITO goes, I'm not a big fan of this fund because they have a NAV problem. Now I need to do a separate video on that, but basically right now they have a synthetic position at $36, and BITO is sitting at 27, so that's a $9. They're $9 in the hole on the NAV. So yeah, they're paying $1.37, which is amazing, and that's a forward yield of almost 80%. But I think once June 21st comes around, they'll have a serious problem with their NAV. So at this point I would not be investing in YBIT. I personally just invest in BITO, and I collect juicy dividends, and also I'm able to sell covered calls on BITO, which has a lot of open interest and a high IV, implied volatility, so I can get decent premiums for my call options, and you can't really do that on YieldMax funds. Anyway, next one is SQY. Okay, so they're paying this month 96 cents, and that is a reduction of almost 14% from the previous month. Forward yield of 85%. I'm sorry, 58%. All right, so I have a few shares of SQY, not a lot, like 20 shares, just to kind of diversify my holdings. Anyway, next one is Amazon, AMZY. The underlying is Amazon, and they are paying 95 cents, and that's a reduction of about 2% from the previous month, and a forward yield of 50.35%. Now, AMZY is actually a very interesting stock or fund. So right over here, you can look on our website, compare to stock compare tool. AMZY is actually doing better than Amazon in total returns. So we're looking at 45% since the inception, and the return on AMZY is 45%, and Amazon in the same period has returned 40%. So this fund is outdoing the underlying, which is actually quite amazing. Congratulations if you hold AMZY. All right, so next one is a newer fund. It's CRSH. It's basically they sell, rather than covered calls, they sell puts on Tesla. Okay, and so let's find it right over here somewhere. All right, so you can see the price action between Tesla and CRSH, and it's pretty much inverse. When Tesla goes up, CRSH goes down, and the reverse happens. So when Tesla goes down, CRSH goes up. Okay, and this month, this is their first distribution, just like in case of YBIT, first time, and they're paying 95 cents, which is great, and forward yield of almost 55%. Not bad. Okay, AMD. All right, so recently their underlying AMD, the stock went down significantly. It was like above $200. Right now it's trading at $165, and so the price of AMD is actually below the initial price of $20. So if we look over here, AMD, let's take a look, compared to AMD, and so AMD has performed significantly better than AMD, but still it's a positive return. So 27% in the past 12 months, but it actually hasn't been a full year. So once it's a full year, this percentage should increase. So that's pretty nice. Anyway, let's go back to our chart right here. So they'll be paying 90 cents dividend, and the increase from last month is actually pretty good. 76% increase from previous months, and 60.63% forward yield. So not bad. Congratulations if you hold AMD. It's been actually, today it's doing better than the last few days. The price of AMD has been like around $17 in the last week or so. So it's increased today, and once again, once the X date comes around, all these prices will go down by, typically they go down by the amount of the dividend. Anyway, move on. AIYY. Their underlying is AI. They had a decent earnings. They went up, I think, like 20% on the earnings. So the stock price is at $13.50, and their dividend this month is pretty good. It is 87.5 cents, and the forward yield is actually higher than NVIDIA. It's 114.46%. No, I'm sorry, that's the change from the previous month, 114.6%. That's a change from previous months, and the forward yield is a respectable 77.8%. That's very nice. I personally do not invest in this fund because I think AI, the underlying, is kind of a crappy company. I'm not even sure why it's trading at such a high valuation. They're losing money. So anyway, next one, MRNY. It tracks Moderna. Okay, so Moderna stock has been doing decently, and MRNY stock also doing not so bad. Almost at the inception price, but with the dividends they have a positive return. And so the dividend amount is 84.5 cents. That's about 11% lower than previous months, and still a respectable 51.35% forward yield. Not bad. Okay, Phoebe, that's Facebook or Meta. They are paying 69 cents. It's not as good as last month, so that's a reduction of about 23%. And the forward yield is also kind of 42%. I mean, when you compare this to Coca-Cola, this is an amazing yield. So not bad, not bad. Could be better, but you know, the Facebook price has been all over the place. Today it's at $4.90, and so they're sitting, I believe, on like $4.80 synthetic, so that's not bad. But their covered calls for this week are in danger. So yeah, pretty good. 69 cents, not bad. Okay, GOOY, that tracks Google. they're paying 68.5 cents, and that's an increase of 2.66% from last month, and almost 45% forward yield, not bad. PYPY or PYPY, that tracks PayPal. Okay, so at some point last month, PayPal stock dropped to like $61, then it came up. So they won on all the covered calls, the weekly covered calls, and that's why they're paying almost 67 cents per share. However, it's still a reduction of 29% from the previous payment. Still a respectable 44% yield going forward. Yeah, so this fund is not yielding, you know, too much, but it's pretty stable because PayPal stock is not moving a lot. So that's a pretty respectable yield. Okay, TSLY. Now we should have probably moved Tesla all the way to the top, but because we organized this in order of the dividend amount, they are in position number 14, and they are paying 65 cents, 64.5 cents. It's a drop of about 7% from previous months, but still a 51% forward yield. Not bad, not bad. So they didn't have any problems with their synthetic this month, and I think they won all their weekly covered calls for the most part. However, if you watch ROD, Retire on Dividends, so he is doing in-depth coverage on this fund, and actually their total kind of income for the month was actually lower than what they're paying. So they are using cash reserves to pay higher dividend, to kind of remain above 50% yield, and it's going to be treated as a return of capital on your tax return. So talk to your tax professional about if this is good or not so good for you, but basically, yeah, they're paying out more than they earned in this month. Anyway, next one is NFLY. It tracks Netflix. Again, Netflix price has been all over the place, and the stock is pretty cheap at $17.41, and they're paying 63 cents, which is a drop of 35% from previous month. So that's yeah, that's pretty bad. 43.4% forward yield, not so great. Okay, next one, MSFO, which tracks Microsoft. All right, so also a drop from previous months, about 16%. They're paying 48 cents per share, and last month they paid 57 cents per share, so that's not good. And a measly 26.5% forward yield, so not so great. Let's move on. DISO, which tracks Disney, 37.35% drop from previous months. Okay, this is the worst one. Yeah, this is the lowest drop, the biggest drop of them all. Okay, 44.23 cents per share, and that's a 29% forward yield. Okay, not so bad, a little better than MSFO. Next one is APLY. So Apple price is actually shooting up. They're going to have their developer conference end of this week, and it's been like below 170 a couple months ago. Now it's 195, 196, so not bad. They have increased their dividend payout, so I guess the IV on Apple stock is not so high, but they did increase the dividend by almost 20%, 19.26%, and they're paying 40.43 cents per share. Next one is OARK, which tracks ARK ETF. All right, so they had a 24% drop in the dividend and comes in at 40 cents. And the forward yield is actually not bad, 43, almost, yeah, 43.5%. But that's because the price of OARK is $11. So OARK is one of those funds that actually lost money since the, well, I'm not saying since the inception. In the past 12 months, they are in the red, even with the dividends. So that's not good, but this is pretty much NAV erosion. So yeah, okay, JPMO, which tracks JP Morgan stock, JPM, they are paying 35 cents per share, which is a decrease of 16.5%, and a forward yield of 21%, 21.23%. All right, and the final one, which is the lowest distribution, is XOMO, which tracks ExxonMobil, and they're paying 30 cents per share, and that is 10% reduction from previous months and a 21% forward yield. Now, think about it this way: XOM or ExxonMobil, let's take a look at them. They're paying about 4%, 3.3%, 3.38% yield, and that's forward yield. Now they will have increase in dividend. Oh, no, I'm wrong. That will be at the end of the year. They just increased the dividend. So I think this, look at their dividend curve. Like over here, I was buying it right over here, and my share price is about under $60, and so I'm sitting on a really nice yield. I also sell covered calls, but right now their dividend yield is pretty pathetic because the price is going up while the oil prices are kind of in the gutter. So if you're thinking about buying this stock, you should probably do some more research on it. Like, I'm not a fan of XOM right now. I think it's way overpriced. Their revenue is going down. I don't like that. The good thing, they are repaying their debt and their cash position is pretty stable, but still the revenue is dropping. You can see the CAGR on revenue 1 year minus 4.5%, 2 year minus 4.4%, and even the 10-year CAGR is negative, which is not good. And 5 year is positive merely because we had a really high earnings over here in basically 2 years ago. Anyway, let's go back to these funds. Yeah, okay, so this basically covers the funds, the monthly funds, and next I will do a video on YMAX and YMAG. So these are fund of funds. Basically they own, so YMAX basically owns every single stock fund in their portfolio, and YMAG owns magnificent 7 stocks. So Google or GOOY, NFLY, MSFO, what else they own? TSLY, NVDY, what else? APLY, AMZY. So they have 7 underlying stocks, but basically they own their own funds. Okay, and because we now have distributions for this month, we can calculate the estimate for the next payout on YMAX and YMAG. So that video is coming up next. All right, so again, the top 3 funds are CONY, MSTY, and NVDY. They kind of like rotate around. They all have great returns. Now these returns are without reinvesting the dividends. If you look in this table right here with the DRIP, you're sitting on 127% 1 year return on CONY, 124% 1 year return on NVDY. And MSTY, it's a newer fund. I think it was released in like February. Let's take a look. Yeah, so they started trading over here in February, and I think it's an amazing return for just like 4 months. 98% return in 4 months, guys. If you average that out to a full year, 12 months, that's like 300% return. How did they do against the underlying, which is MicroStrategy? Let's take a look. Yeah, MicroStrategy did even better than MSTY. Okay, so basically for the last 4 months, since February 22nd, the return on the MicroStrategy is 139%, and MSTY is a measly 98% in 4 months. Yeah, I think it kind of is better than NVIDIA. All right, guys. So thanks for watching. Again, I ask you to click that like button. It really helps the channel grow and helps with the Google algorithm, with YouTube algorithm. Shows the video to more people. Subscribe to the channel. I'll be making more of these videos. And I want to tell you, I want to start a DGen fund. Now, I do have some stocks in my portfolio that are like, you know, long-term growth stocks or long-term dividend payers, and I started at a pretty low dividend yield now. So some of them I've had for a while, so they now are in like double-digit dividend yield on cost. But looking at like Coca-Cola, you look at their yield, or even XOM, like you look at 3% yield, and it's really pathetic. And so it's really difficult for me to invest in these companies, especially Coca-Cola. I don't like the returns. So I want to start a DGen fund where I will invest, like I'll start with $10,000 and I'll add some proceeds from the website. So I want to see how it works. And if you have suggestions for stocks to put in the DGen fund, please put them in the comments section below. I actually want to use community input for the DGen fund. Now, I will not always approve all the stocks that I want to put in the fund, but yeah, I want your input. And by the way, so another plug, guys, so we recently launched this stock research tool. It's a visual stock research tool, and you also have stock comparison tool right here. So if you want to get access to this, we offer a YouTube only promotion, 30% lifetime discount. So if you want to try it out, it's actually a free trial for 2 weeks. So cancel anytime if you don't like it. I'll put a link in the description and also a pinned comment with the 30% lifetime coupon code. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.